Welcome to Blooming Out, a locally produced public affairs program discussing the issues and events affecting the gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender community of South Central Indiana. Blooming Out is written and produced by a team of dedicated volunteers and financially supported by listeners like you.
Who is the prevention coordinator for Positive Link, and along with Kevin Phillips. They're both in the studio to talk with us about living with HIV. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
And it's Phelps, I'm sorry.
Phelps? Okay. Well,
to do that.
no, we need to have the name correct. That's
yes,
right.
we do.
We appreciate your coming out here in the cold. So, living with AIDS, not an easy thing.
No.
No.
No. I mean, simple, short, next question.
Right.
I mean, I guess, to me, I've seen a lot of images in media, movies, education when I was in high school that really sort of showed HIV and AIDS the way it was in the 80s and early 90s. And, you know, you hear a lot of talk about people thinking, oh, well, I can live with it. There are drugs now. It's new. It's improved. How has it changed and how has it not changed?
It hasn't changed in that people are still dying. It hasn't changed in that teen heterosexuals are now the highest growing rate of new infections. It hasn't changed in that you still have to take a lot of medications that do horrible, horrible things to your body. Yes, there are better medicines. Yes, some of those medicines do very well for certain people. But there's also different strains. The strains mutate. The medicines become ineffective. Therefore, you sometimes often start back at square one.
And bottom line, there is no cure.
No.
It doesn't go away. It changes your life permanently.
The good thing about testing, however, if you're going to test HIV, go have an HIV test, go have an HIV test. If you're going to test and you test positive, you never have to test again. Seriously.
I guess that's a positive in the whole scenario.
Knowing soon and knowing early is definitely a benefit, and I think that's one thing that has changed, is that there is more that you can do when you do know early, but like Kevin said, there's still of the the side effects from the medications. One thing that we're seeing now, I think, in people who have been positive for a long time is they're having health issues that are more common in people who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they're in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah, I was reading a report. In fact, we talked about it on the air a little bit last week about this one person in particular with all the horrible complications he's had. And it sounds, I mean, how do we get the word out to the young people, and well, to anybody, but young people in particular, about how this really is a life sentence, not a good life sentence.
Exactly, and oftentimes a death sentence. I mean, people are under the false impression that it's not a death sentence any longer. Sorry about that. I just buried 3 of my friends in the last 4 years. It is still somewhat of a death sentence. Yes, you can live longer. Yes, you can have a fabulous quality of life. But
that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing. You've got something hanging over you all the time.
Every day. You go from, yes, I have it, but I deal with it. Okay, everything's cool, to, oh my God, do I really have to take this handful of pills again? Mm-hmm. And when I do, I'm going to be spending so much time on the toilet. And, it's just, it's tiring, it's exhausting.
Could you talk a little bit about specifically what the side effects of the drugs are? I mean, you mentioned...
Absolutely horrid, cramping,
things that you can say on the air.
Yeah.
I will try to keep it as clean as possible. Horrid cramping diarrhea. Fatigue is a real big issue. Loss of muscle mass. And then again, the mental issues that are often associated. When you're taking meds, you're reminding yourself, 2-3 times a day that this is what you have to do in order to keep alive, and some people get tired of it and some people choose to stop, and when they do, they die. Please don't do that.
Is it fair to say that it's hard to work or have a career?
It is. I mean, there are certain careers that one could work at as long as one is able to have time to be able to jump up from the chair and run to the bathroom when necessary, or be on such a flexible schedule that when they wake up and they're just so achy and tired that they just can't do it for that day or whatever, then they can go ahead and take that day off or what have you. If there were certain security nets or what have you in place like that, then yes. But in my case, I couldn't stand at a cash register and ring up orders for 8 hours straight because at some point in time I may have to take off.
Right. Sure, that's understandable. Emily, what kinds of things are you doing as prevention coordinator to educate people on the realities of HIV infection and a lifestyle living with HIV?
We go to several places in Monroe and the surrounding counties to do education. A lot of our funding is specifically for doing education in substance abuse treatment facilities. So we do a lot of education in that area. We go to Bloomington High School South is one place that we go. We don't do a lot with the school system because community health education, a different department, does a lot of that. But you had asked earlier about youth and getting the word out. I think we are fairly fortunate, at least in Monroe County, that our school system is really pretty good about what you can talk about. And we're really fortunate for that. There's not much that we can't talk about, so we can really educate the kids when we go in. Our prevention department's just really growing right now. In the past couple of years, in the last year actually, we doubled the amount of outreach that we had done from the year before. So that's very exciting. The prevention department is growing, and we're really getting a lot more requests. So I feel like people know that we're there, and maybe more people are starting to say, hey, we haven't heard a lot about HIV in the last 5-10 years. I mean, it just isn't in the media like it was 10-15 years ago. And yeah, absolutely. And I think we've really noticed sort of a shift, at least, and this is a personal opinion, in youth not knowing as much about HIV as they did 5-10 years ago. And I'm not sure if that is a reflection of the fact that there hasn't been as much in the media or on the news. It's just not something that you hear about all the time like you used to.
And that's unfortunate.
It is.
It really does need to be talked about much more, not just, whenever you do hear about it, it's like for fundraising, and everybody, it gets to the point where people hear fundraising and they kind of close their ears because they get tired of being asked for money. We are out of time. I want to thank both of you very much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
And being so straightforward and honest about your life and what it's like.
Yes, we need a lot more of that. Thank you very much.
Yes, we do. And we look forward to seeing you again. This segment is actually going to be shared between Emily and Robin Molesky, and I think you're going to alternate in coming months on topics and issues. So we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple months.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Blooming Out on WFHB. Comments, suggestions, and story ideas can be sent directly to the Blooming Out staff. The email address is outradio@wfhb.org. If you're here and you're queer, we want to put your story on the air. The email address once again is outradio@wfhb.org.